AI is getting woven into pretty much everything we do, and that brings up a huge question. How do we make sure it's not just powerful, but also safe and trustworthy? So today, we're going to dive into a really cool approach for engineering AI that has a moral compass built right in. Think about it. AI is already making these massive decisions in things like medical diagnoses and whether or not you get a loan. And when the stakes are that high, we can't just cross our fingers and hope it all works out. We absolutely need a solid way to make sure these systems are on our side? So what's the big problem? Well, a lot of people are calling it a trust deficit. We're pushing out these unbelievably powerful AI tools way faster than we can build provable safety checks for them. And that leaves this huge gap where trust is supposed to be. Okay, so you might be thinking, why can't we just test AI like regular software? Well, it's not that simple for a few big reasons. First off, AI is what they call stochastic, which basically means it's unpredictable, unlike normal code that does the exact same thing every time. Second, it's like a digital mirror. It just reflects all the biases it finds in the tons of internet data we feed it. And that popular training method, reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF, it's kind of a black box. We don't always know why it's making the choices it is. So yeah, when something goes wrong, figuring out who's to blame is a real mess. All right, so if the old ways don't work, what's next? Well, that brings us to this really promising new idea, constitutional AI. So what is constitutional AI, or CAI, really? At its heart, it's a way to train AI models to stick to a clear set of rules. And here's the brilliant part. These rules are written in plain English. It's literally an AI constitution that tells it how to behave. Yeah, it really is as simple as that. We're giving the AI a rulebook. Instead of just hoping it figures out the rules from a bunch of examples, we're spelling them out. This makes the whole training process way more clear, explicit, and something we can actually check. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? I mean, how do you really get an AI to not just read, but actually follow its own constitution? It's this really clever two-phase process. So in phase one, the AI comes up with an answer, but then, and this is the cool part, it critiques its own answer based on the Constitution and then revises it. It's kind of like the AI is its own editor, making sure its work follows the rules. Then, in phase two, a different AI model comes in. It's trained to pick the revised Constitution-friendly answers. This whole thing is called reinforcement learning from AI feedback, and it's basically how the AI develops a conscience. And what you get at the end of all this is an AI with a built-in safety switch. So if you ask it to do something that goes against its principles, it knows to say no or to steer you in a better, safer direction.
All right, this is where it gets really exciting. This isn't just a theory on a whiteboard. We've got the data to prove it works.
Just look at these numbers from standard industry tests. On HarmBench, which is all about refusing bad requests, the CAI model jumped up by 22 percentage points. That's huge. And you see these big jumps across the board, in fighting off jailbreak attacks, in cutting down on bias. The takeaway here is pretty simple. The improvements are real, and they are massive. This chart really drives the point home. Going from 72% to 94% in refusing harmful prompts, that's a game changer for safety. It means the AI is just way, way more reliable at spotting and blocking stuff it shouldn't be doing. And this number right here, this one really gets me. Slashing toxic outputs by 66%. That's not a tweak. That is a fundamental shift in how the AI behaves. It makes it a much safer tool for everyone. Okay, let's bring this down to earth with a real-world example. Because these biases we're talking about, they're not just abstract concepts. They can seriously affect people's lives, especially in something as critical as hiring. This is a fantastic example of just how powerful an explicit rule can be. So a standard model showed this pretty major bias against people with gaps in their employment history, which, let's be honest, often discriminates against women. But here's the magic. They added one simple rule to the Constitution about this, and poof, the bias basically vanished. It dropped from 14 percentage points all the way down to less than 1.5. So what's the big picture here? Where does this all fit in? Well, constitutional AI isn't just a clever trick for training models. It's really a foundational piece for how we engineer and govern AI in the future. And this is where CAI gets super practical for any company or organization trying to use AI responsibly. It lines up perfectly with big established frameworks like the one from NIST. The Constitution becomes a policy that a machine can actually read and follow. You can map your risks directly to specific rules, measure how well the AI is sticking to them, and, this is key, you can patch bad behavior just by updating the Constitution.
And you know, one of the best side effects of all this is transparency. Because the AI is critiquing itself, it leaves behind what's called a reasoning trace. It's like a step-by-step log of its thinking. And that, for anyone trying to debug these systems or do their due diligence, is an absolute game changer. So, at the end of the day, what's the main takeaway? It's this idea that we're moving AI safety from just hoping for the best to actually engineering for the best. It's about building AIs that aren't just powerful, but that we can actually prove are aligned with our values. It takes these fuzzy ethical ideas and turns them into solid, testable rules. This is how we start building a future where we can actually trust our AI. So the big question left for all of us is, what rules should we be writing into their constitutions?